Hi guys, and welcome back to this journey towards excellent exam results. In these shorter revision videos, we are going to be breaking down different concepts within the GCSE Geography specification. The aim of this is to help us understand the concepts better and to give us the information and confidence we need to answer exam questions. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Kuznets Curve and how people's attitudes towards environmental concerns are changing. Okay, let's get started. The Kuznets curve and changing attitudes towards environmental concerns. The Kuznets curve. This graph here shows the changes that take place in the level of environmental degradation as a country develops. Now you can see here that environmental degradation obviously here stands for how much the environment is suffering as a result of the development that is taking place in a particular country. Now, at the pre-industrial stage, so pre-industrial economies, the ones that have not industrialized yet, you can see that the environmental degradation starts off being quite low. But then as the country develops, so this is maybe, where the country has most of the people working in the primary sector. So it's very low. But then as industry begins to develop in a country, the level of environmental degradation begins to rise. And then eventually it will reach its peak when the country is at the industrial stage. Now, the industrial stage, for example, in the UK was during the Industrial Revolution. And then it gets to a point during that industrial stage when there is a turning point. And all of a sudden, the amount of degradation and harm to the environment begins to fall. And then at the post-industrial stage, it continues to fall fairly rapidly until it becomes extremely low. Now, people in countries where human development, food and water supply have been achieved tend to turn their focus to care more for the environment. Okay, now that basically means that during this initial stage here, the countries are still fairly poor. But as they grow and they are able to sell a lot more products and make a lot of more money and become richer, then the affluence there in those countries means that people's attention now is not really as focused on making money, and they begin to focus on what impact they are having on the environment. And that's one of the reasons that has been given to explain why there is normally a turning point and the level of environmental degradation begins to come down. So people start to think more about their carbon footprint. And the carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are generated by each person's actions. For example, more people are now aware and are concerned about their food miles. So they are concerned about how far their food is having to travel before it gets to them, to their homes and to their tables. Now, if it's traveling a longer distance, then they are likely to want to buy alternatives that do not have huge food miles on them. Now, food miles here will imply that the food will have traveled, so say using means such as air transport, ships out at sea and so on. And if it's using those methods of transport and then it comes into the UK, gets into lorries and then is transported to the supermarkets and so on. So the amount of pollution and environmental degradation that takes place as a result is quite high. So people become more aware of that and sensitized to it, and as a result, they start to buy a little more locally. Then the carbon footprint and then enables us to work out the ecological footprint as well, which is how dependent humans are on natural resources. It's a measure that indicates the amount of land and water required to produce resources in a country. Okay, so that is the ecological footprint. So a measure that indicates the amount of land and water required to produce resources for a country. And it's measured in global hectares. Now, hectares obviously is a measure of how big a piece of land is. right? And if a country is in line with the ability of the earth to produce resources for them, their ecological footprint is 1. Okay, and then the higher the footprint, the more land is needed for them to produce the resources they need for their country. And obviously, as we know, because of the population increase and increasing urbanization and affluence, the world's ecological footprint is on the rise, whether it's in the developed economies or the emerging economies, or even the LICs. So sustainability is therefore key to the world's future, and every citizen of the world needs to be educated on it. And that's why, for example, here in the UK, the syllabuses here normally talk about environmental concerns and sustainability. That brings us to the end of consuming energy resources, the third topic for paper 3. I hope that you have found this summary useful. That brings us to the end of this video on the Kuznets curve. I hope that you have found the information insightful and useful. I have also done a video covering the whole of topic 9 on consuming energy resources. It will pop up as one of the suggested videos at the end of this one, and can also be found in the consuming energy resources playlist. Videos on all the other subtopics within this topic are also in that playlist. Thanks once again for joining in this journey towards excellent exam results. All the best, and see you again soon. Bye-bye.